Say no
to domestic family
violence.
Family violence involves not only physical abuse, but psychological, emotional, sexual, economic, spiritual, and legal abuse. Family violence is when a family member or members demonstrates violent behaviors with the aim to harm, control, oppress, or restrict a person. It affects people of all ages and backgrounds, but predominantly affects women and children. Linking domestic family violence, DFV for short, to developmental concepts, family violence can affect a growing child's psychosocial development, such as interpersonal interactions, interpersonal relations, attachment, feelings, emotions, relationships, learning, behavior, cognitive abilities, and growth across the lifespan. This includes the concept of nature versus nurture, the idea of how an individual's biology and environment can play an important part in the development of a child across their lifespan. Because our state case study is that of an Indigenous person, it is important to note that within Australia, Indigenous people are more likely to be hospitalised of family violence than non-Aboriginal people. This can be seen in our following case study, where the family is of Aboriginal heritage.
Hi guys, I'm Sadie.
Hi guys, I'm Sadie's son.
Hey guys, I'm Sadie's ex-partner.
Hi guys, I'm Sadie's daughter. Sadie is an Aboriginal mother of 2 children whose ex-partner is the father of her children. Her ex-partner is a perpetrator of family violence, including verbal and physical abuse towards Sadie and both her children. As Sadie's son grew into a teenager, he started to become aggressive towards her and began to experiment with drugs, which perpetrated his violent behavior towards Sadie. Sadie's daughter has high needs and lives with her ex-partner during the week, but spends the weekends with Sadie due to Sadie being unable to find safe and affordable accommodation after leaving her ex. When she comes home, Sadie notices clear signs of physical abuse and neglect, such as bruises, nits, and an unkempt appearance. And Sadie notes that she has also been exposed to sexual activity and drug use while in the care of her father.
Hey guys, this is Salesh, and today I'm going to discuss about the implications of issues on the individual, including the Sadie's case, her family, and the society. Let's get started. Point number 1. In our case study, Sadie spoke about difficulty in accessing the support services, which she and also stated that her ex would use the system to continue her perpetration of domestic and family violence. This provides implications to improve the response of criminal justice system towards such issues and also to improve the law enforcement and child protective services related to such cases. Here we go for the point number 2. The perception of children to of the cause of family violence has significant implication for psychological and interpersonal relationship of a child with others, which links to attachment theories in developmental psychology. For example, the children who blame their parents for violence at home may become hostile and disregard their parents. It is also possible that children at times may blame the victim for the violence. Since children are often told they are punished because they did something wrong, they might think that the victim did something to deserve the violence and blame them for the violence. This can be because they may see it norm in the family, which links the theories of observational learning proposed by Albert Bandura, which says that children learn how to behave their observation of the behavior of the people in world around them. So point number 3. Another significant implication is evaluation for social and emotional functioning of the children, and murder as repeated exposure to domestic violence leads to feeling of anxiety, depression, helplessness, and inadequacy in study and her 2 children. This can be related to theories of cognitive development and relates to biology of an individual and whether they can manage the stress of situation, of whether it affects them on a deeper biological level, such as predisposition of mental illness as a result of trauma related to experience of DFV nature. Point number 4. The issue also has important implications for children's emotional functioning. Insecurely attached children are explored in psychological attachment theories proposed by John Bowlby, where children may be emotionally reactive and adopt their family's pattern of violence and become motivated to enter and follow this cycle of violence. Just as in case of Sadie's teenage son, who began showing aggressive behavioral patterns. Okay, point number 5. Repeatedly experiencing high level of threat may have adverse implications for psychological health and interpersonal function of a child. Difficulty in navigating the emotion may increase the risk of developing symptoms such as anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Witnessing violence between parents also may lead children to become hypervigilant in signs of anger and conflict in relationship outside of the family, which can escalate as they get older in public displays of violence, getting them in trouble with the law. Again, this can be connected to the developmental theories of learning and socialization as described above. In these implications are not addressed through the interventions, the cycle of violence continues.
Hello, it's me Nima Tamang.
And Gabby Steele.
We are talking about the strategies and intervention of
Family and domestic violence in our case study of Sadie and her children.
domestic and family abuse is a leading cause of homelessness and the housing insecurity with a serious long-term consequences for the victim health and well-being. Children who are exposed to domestic and family violence are more likely to be abused. They will also have a hard time learning and forming healthy relationships. They will also have a hard time learning and forming healthy relationship with others, and they may be more vulnerable to the alcoholism, drugs use, and criminal behavior later in life. Therefore, the government of every country is committed to putting measures in place to end domestic and family abuse. However, everyone recognizes that domestic and family abuse may be shared issues and that both of the government and the community must collaborate. We must all work together to end the attitudes and behavior that trivialize, justifies, or reinforce domestic and family abuse. Besides this, there are lots of government organizations and non-government organizations who are working against the domestic and family violence, which are given below. For first one are Child Protection Fourth Action Plan endorsed by COAG. The National Plan to Reduce Violence Against Women and Their Children 2010 and 2022, released on February 15, 2011, puts together the efforts of government across Australia to make a real and sustainable reduction in the rate of violence against women and their children. ACT Acts for the Children, Association of Children for the Welfare Agency, Australian Childhood Foundation, Child Abuse Prevention Service, National Association for Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect.
In our case study, Sadie spoke about accessing the following support services, which she said were challenging to navigate, added to her trauma, as well as stating her ex would use them to continue his perpetration of DFV. Family law, mediation, and family law court. She did not feel listened to, and her ex used the process to further abuse her and her children. Housing. The domestic housing provided was unsafe and unclean for children to live in, with Sadie couch surfing and losing her job as a result. Therefore, she was unable to look after her daughter who has extra needs. However, her son was able to stay with her. This refers to the idea of nature and nurture because children's development can be affected if they do not feel safe or struggle with illness and disease and are mistreated, as they are seen as vulnerable and defenceless in a DFE situation. Child protection. Sadie reported she had a positive experience with the Aboriginal Child Protection Team. However, it was not helpful in allowing her daughter to stay with her, and as a result she stayed with her ex where Sadie believes she is not safe. Due to law proceedings and jurisdictions of the courts and child protection agencies, they were unable to have more involvement. These experiences demonstrate a lack of cooperation and networking between the social and government structures for effective management of the risks associated with DVF, as well as causing a chaotic environment where the children are surrounded by, affecting their ability to develop to their full potential psychologically and physiologically, as we see in the implications mentioned above. Initially, the evidence consisted largely of psychological accounts of children's behavioural and emotional issues collected from assessments of children in society. Those children who are facing the problems from DFV may have internalising difficulties leading to depression, somatic or physiological complaints, anxiety and withdrawal. Because of this, there is now a small but growing body of research on the psychological impacts of children experiencing violence. This brings the idea of intersectionality, the recognition that many social factors such as an individual's biology and tendencies, nature, and an individual's environment, learning and socialisation, nurture, interplay as elements that intersect to influence individuals' abilities to cope, thrive and develop to their fullest potential in their life, and this is why it is important for each part to be addressed in a situation such as that of domestic family violence, as it is not just about addressing the violence but also the environment that the violence has created, as well as any factors such as social needs and biological impacts the violence may have caused for children. This is why we believe working with a humanistic approach and referring to a social worker and psychologist is in the best interest of the children as well as the mother. In our case study, the family identifies as Aboriginal, and therefore we would recommend the continuation of ATSI practitioners involved in the case management to assist Sadie in navigating the multiple systems involved in DVF, as she has mentioned that it was helpful to have them working alongside social services to help maintain accurate documentation across the different services employed in the process.
Thanks for watching, and remember, say no to domestic family violence.